Hey yogi friends, Cathy here. Wanted to bring you a practice today that's great for any time of day, but especially in the morning when you want to get your energy going, you want to start the day off right, you want to be prepared for whatever comes your way. So this will be both energizing as well as a grounding practice just to get you nice and centered so that whatever comes your way, you're ready for it during your day. So let's come into your easy seat here. If you need that little towel rolled behind the tailbone to help you sit tall, go ahead and grab that. You may want to have some blocks handy or a blanket. I always like to have my props handy, so whatever you might find helpful, go ahead and grab that. Come into your easy seat, go ahead and close the eyes. And bring your attention right away to the body. Sitting on your mat, feel the lower body really sinking down, relaxing into your mat, the feet, the calves, the thighs, the hips. Let everything grow heavy. And at the same time, lengthen up through the spine, right out the pelvis, up the back, out the neck, and out the crown of the head. So lengthening tall in the spine, allow the shoulders to relax away from the ears. Feel a little weight in the shoulders and the elbows. And bring your attention to your breath. Let's put one hand on the low belly so that as we do our full belly breaths, we can feel that expansion. Go ahead and inhale, really filling up the low belly. Feeling that oxygen fill up the lungs all the way up to the collarbone. And then allow that exhale just to naturally follow, drawing the navel toward the spine to press the exhale fully out of the lungs. Let's inhale once again. Feeling the low belly expand and the full lungs fill with air. And then we'll allow that exhale just to naturally happen. Once more, a big full belly inhale. And allow the exhale to happen naturally. Let's do one more and really notice the expansion all the way around the torso on the inhale. Into the back as well as the belly, the sides, and then let that exhale happen and feel the contraction as the exhale leaves the body. One more big inhale, we'll chant Om together just as a reminder of our connectedness to one another. Om. And then allow the breathing to come back to a normal pacing. That chant of Om is a recognition of the divine, the life force that resides in each one of us and connects us to all other living beings. It's a wonderful way to just ground into your practice before we get started with any movement. And when you feel ready, go ahead and open the eyes. We're going to start by lifting the fingertips up over the shoulders and really lengthening tall through the spine. Allow the shoulders to relax away from the ears. There's a tendency to raise them up at the same time. Allow them to relax down and really feel the length in the sides of the body. Allow that lower body to relax again. And from this tall position, we're going to twist to one side and bring one hand to rest on the thigh and one hand to rest right behind the hip. Lengthen tall on the inhale. And then you might glance toward that back shoulder on the exhale if it feels good for your neck. Make sure and listen to what feels good for your body here. What feels right today. And lift the hands up so you're not pressing yourself into the twist, but you're using the muscles of the midsection to hold you there. And then on the next inhale, we'll return to the center, lifting the fingertips up over the shoulders once again. Take another full inhale and exhale right here in the center. And then we'll twist over to the other side. Again, allowing one hand to rest on the thigh in front, One hand right behind the bum. It might just have fingertips. You don't have to necessarily bring the palm down to the floor because that can sometimes pull the spine out of alignment. And we want to have a tall spine reaching up toward the ceiling, grounded down near our tailbone and sits bones. And if you haven't glanced over that back shoulder, you might try that. And on our next inhale, we'll raise the arms back up over the shoulders once again. And we're going to take this same movement of the twist, and we're just going to add some slow pacing to it. So we're going to twist from one side to the other, bringing the fingertips down in front of and behind us as we twist to the side. Just warming up the shoulders a bit here and the side body all at the same time. You can also direct the gaze toward each side as you twist from one side to the other. And let's even things out, doing one more on each side. And then we'll bring the fingertips back up to center and then bring them right down in front of the legs and walk the fingertips forward, keeping the back flat. So we're pressing into the fingertips a bit so that we can also press the sits bones back and down into our mat, really lengthening through the crown, and you'll probably feel some opening in the hips here. That's the idea. So hold there for a few moments, just breathing. Notice if one hip feels this more than the other. It's likely that the foot, the leg that is either on top of your cross or in front of your crossed legs may be feeling it a little more. And let's walk the fingertips over to one side. We're going to frame one knee with the fingertips, keeping that flat back. This will intensify the stretch in one hip. And again, listen to your body. Make sure that we're not going too far. We don't want any pain, a little discomfort. It's the body just saying, hey, I need some attention here. Let's come back through center. Cross over to frame the other knee. A little discomfort is one thing, but we don't want that to cross over into pain. And you'll know if that happens. So just take a step back if you feel any pain. Really breathing into those spaces where you feel this the most, drawing the inhale into those spots where you feel any tension. Scoop out that tension and then take it out of the body on the exhale. Bring the fingers back to center. We're going to swap legs now and do that same thing. Raising the arms up over the shoulders, lengthening through the fingertips, and then bringing the fingertips down right in front of the legs, walking the fingertips forward, pressing into the fingertips so that we can press those sits bones back and down into our mat. And notice how this feels different on this side of the body. Lengthening through the crown of the head and out through the tailbone and the sits bones. You might feel this in a completely different area of the opposite leg. Perfectly normal. Let's go ahead now and bring the fingertips over to frame one knee. Notice how that changes the sensations. And again, breathing into those places where you feel some tension. And think of using that inhale to scoop up that tension and draw it out of the body on the exhale. Come back through center. We're going to frame the other knee. Keep your breathing going here, a nice steady pacing. If something's too intense, we sometimes have the tendency to hold the breath. So if you find yourself holding the breath, it might mean that you want to just take things back just a little bit. Maybe we don't bend as far. Very easy to make modifications if needed. Come back to center, press up. Now let's take our chin toward our chest. We're going to sit tall in the spine. The only bend in the spine is going to be right at the base of the neck. And then we're going to lean one ear over to one shoulder. Go ahead and close the eyes and just notice how this feels in the side of the neck. If you want to add just a little more opening there, you can take the hand that is opposite the bend of your neck, opposite the tilt of the head. Place the fingertips on the mat, walk them away from the body just a bit, and then if you want to add a little more, you can press the palm toward the mat. And just feel that opening in the neck and the shoulder. Now bring the hand back to the leg, drop the chin back down to the chest. We're going to rock over to the opposite side now. And again, take the fingertips if you like on the side of the body opposite the tilt of the head. Walk them away from the body on the mat and press the hand toward the mat. And then we'll bring that hand back. Let's rock from side to side, ear to shoulder, chin to chest, ear to shoulder, just a few times at a slow pacing. We want to really be gentle with the neck. There's a lot of muscle and bone in the neck. We want to be very careful. Obviously the spine. Just be very gentle with your neck. Rocking from side to side. And if you find a spot that needs a little extra moment to hold in one place, go ahead and do that. Listen to what makes your body feel good here this morning or this afternoon, whenever it happens to be that you're practicing. And the next time that your chin is at your chest, go ahead and bring the head back up to a neutral position. And let's come onto our hands and knees in a tabletop position. Once you get here, really press into the fingertips. But first, spread the hands nice and wide. Spread the fingers nice and wide. And then press into the fingertips. So we're almost creating spiders in the hands. Knees are under the hips. Feet are right behind the knees. And the shoulders, elbows, and wrists are in a straight line from the shoulder down to the wrist. And we're going to draw the navel up just a bit and lengthen out through the crown in front of us and out through the tailbone. So there's a lot going on here before we even start any movement. Let's go ahead and drop the belly into a cow position as we raise the head, raise the tail. Hold here for a moment and just notice how this feels. Notice any sensations within your body. If it feels good to you, you might rock just a little bit forward and back. And then we're going to come back to stillness and come into our cat position, curving the spine toward the ceiling, really raising the belly button toward the spine. Go ahead and press into the base of the palms, the tops of the feet. And take a little rock back and forth here, forward and back, if that feels good. And then come back to stillness, come into your cat, dropping the belly as you inhale. Coming into cow, and then into cat as you exhale, drawing navel to spine, spine to ceiling. Sorry about that. And as you inhale next, go ahead and drop the belly, coming into cow here, raising crown and tail, curving spine to ceiling as you exhale. So just continue your cat-cow here, inhaling as you drop your belly, exhaling as you curve your spine toward the ceiling. And feeling this flexion in the spine. You might also feel some opening in the hips here. This is a great movement for releasing and contracting the pelvic floor muscles, the abdominal muscles, the muscles of the back. And if the arms start to get tired, go ahead and take a child's pose because we're going to move there next. And when you feel ready, when you've gotten your cat-cows out of your system, go ahead and spread the knees a little wider. Bring the big toes to touch each other. Bring the hips back toward the heels. Lower the forehead towards your mat, extending the arms out in front, coming into your child's pose. If the forehead does not come all the way to the mat, you can put a block beneath the forehead or rolled up blanket. If the heels and hips do not meet, you can always bring a block beneath the hips, right between the feet, so that you have some support there also. And let everything relax here. Feel the weight of the hands, the arms, the forehead, and the knees and shins and the tops of the feet. Feel them sinking into your mat. And then let's come back up to our tabletop position here. And we're going to curl the toes under and lift up the hips into a down dog. So the weight is evenly distributed between the hands and the feet. Go ahead and pedal the feet here, rolling from the ball of the foot to the other. As you press one heel into the mat or toward the mat, you can bend the opposite knee. That can help to kind of warm up the calves and the Achilles here, since this is our first down dog. We want to keep that spider grip in the hands, lengthen the crown of the head toward the front of your mat, and work toward bringing the head in position so that the ears are on the biceps, rather are on either side of the ears. So if you were to move your head from side to side, your ears would touch your biceps. And then bring the feet to stillness if you haven't already. Lengthen out the tailbone as you lengthen out through the crown. Allow some space between the shoulders and ears. And just bend the knees as much as needed here. There's no need to overextend yourself. This is a practice of self-care. We're not trying to win any awards. We're trying to take care of our body here. Not that there are any awards to be won anyway. But the greatest award here is how you feel when you've completed your practice. So let's walk the feet forward into a forward fold. And bend the knees as much as needed. Let the head fall heavy toward the mat. And allow your upper body to just be like a rag doll. You can even sway a little from side to side here. Just feeling that opening in the back. Feel the opening in the hamstrings, the backs of the legs. You might feel the sensation of more blood flowing toward the head. And you might take a moment to rock just a bit forward and back on the feet, not moving the feet so much as just moving the weight, the concentration of weight from the balls of the feet into the heels, and then from the heels of the feet into the balls of the feet. And just notice how that changes the sensation. And then go ahead and come to stillness here for just a moment. You might want to either shake the head no and yes, or make some tiny circles with the head, just feeling that little release of tension in the neck. And then we're going to take a halfway lift. So lifting up, coming into the shape of a number 7, pressing out through the sits bones behind you, drawing the navel toward the spine to support the low back. Bring the hands right up to the hip creases. Lengthen out through the crown of the head and lift the shoulders and the elbows slightly toward the ceiling. A lot going on here. You do not need to straighten the knees. Have a little bend there. And then we'll fold back down. Let's rise up into a tall mountain, lifting the hands up over the shoulders, lengthening through the fingertips. Allow those shoulders to relax down. Engage the insides of the legs from the feet, the arches of the feet, all the way up the insides of the legs, into the pelvic floor, the abdomen, the thighs, the glutes. Lift up through the crown, and then take a little tiny back bend at the top. And then we'll fold back down into our forward fold. We're going to take the left foot, reach it back, landing on the left toes, and bring that left knee down. Now this is a place where some people really like to use their blocks so that they can lengthen up through the crown and have the surface beneath them just a little closer to the hands. It might allow a little more length, because what we want to avoid is this whole curved over upper back. So if using the blocks helps you to keep a taller spine. Go ahead and grab them. That's what they're there for. And just allow some weight to come into the hips here. So you can really feel some opening in that left hip flexor. A little compression here in the right hip flexor. And think of just pulling this right hip back just a tiny bit, and you'll notice a little more opening in the left front hip at the same time. Holding here for another moment. And then we're going to use, if you have the blocks, you can pull them back just a little bit, and we're going to come into a runner's stretch. So we're rolling the weight of that front leg onto the heel, and we're bringing the hips back over the knee in the back. And we want to try to keep the left hip in the same plane with the left knee. It has a tendency to pop out to the left-hand side. So we're going to try to keep it in line with the left knee. And we'll bring the toes toward the nose. Keep a little bend in that right knee. You're going to feel a lot of length in that back of the right leg. And then let's roll forward, coming back to that low lunge position. And then we'll roll back, coming into the runner's stretch. And roll forward into that low lunge. And then roll back into that runner's stretch. Let's do that 2 more times, rolling forward into our low lunge and back into our runner's stretch. Once more forward, once more back. And then we'll roll forward this time. Go ahead and remove the blocks to the side of your mat. And we're going to take a twist here. So plant the left palm right below the left shoulder. Bring the right hand right outside the right ankle, and just draw the hand across the outside of your calf, and then twist toward the right-hand side so you can lift the arm up toward the ceiling, fingertips toward the ceiling. If the shoulders are tight, your arm may only extend out to the side, which is a-okay. If you have a little more mobility, you might lift the fingertips toward the sky. And if you want to add a little more intensity, you can lift up onto the back toes, straightening the back leg. If you're in either position, make sure that, again, hip, knee, ankle are in alignment. They're in the same plane. And just holding here in this twist, remembering to breathe throughout your practice. Pressing into the ball of the right foot. And then we'll bring that hand back down. When we bring this right hand back down, let's bring it over to be right beside the left hand. So we're coming into a lizard pose. You may want to go ahead, if you've got the back knee lifted, and bring it back down. And so both hands here, my thumbs are touching one another. They're both inside the right foot. If it feels better for your body, maybe walk that right foot over toward the right-hand side of your mat just a bit. And you might even rock just gently over toward the outer edge of that right foot. And again, if you want to add a little intensity, you can come up onto the back toes here. If you do, that might change the position, or the need to change the position of the hands. And feel that opening in the right hip and in the front of the left hip. Go ahead and lower that back knee if it's up. Walk the right foot back towards center of your mat. Come up onto the fingertips or your blocks. Here we are in this low lunge once more. And we're going to come up onto the back toes and bring the front foot back to meet the back foot. And we're going to be in a plank. If plank is a little much, go ahead and bring the knees down because we're headed there next. Keeping the elbows super close to the body as we lower all the way down to the belly. Keep those elbows by the ribs as you come down. Using a lot of strength in the upper arms there. And we're going to take a little tiny Cobra, but before you move right into it, go ahead and engage the legs, the inner thighs, the glutes, up through the back, and then we'll lift up and lengthen through the crown. And you might even lift the hands off your mat as you're building strength in your back. Go ahead and lower back down. And we're going to press up either through a tabletop or a plank, you choose. And then come back to our down dog. And walk the feet a bit here, pedal the feet, feeling that length in the back of the legs. Remembering to breathe here. Come to stillness with the feet when you feel ready. Allowing again shoulders to come away from the ears, crown reaching toward the front edge of the mat, tailbone reaching toward that crease between the wall and the ceiling behind you. Pressing heels toward the mat. We want to have the flattest back that we can and allowing a little bend in the knees if needed. Let's take that left foot, lift it just a few inches off the mat, and we're going to bring it forward. Now you might need to use the hands to bring that foot forward. That's fine. Maybe take 1 or 2 steps to get it there. We're just bringing it up to rest between the hands. Another spot that you might want to grab your blocks here. Taking that low lunge, lifting through the crown, pulling that left hip back just a tiny bit. Feeling that opening in the right hip flexor, feeling that opening in the back of the left hip, opening in the chest, between the shoulders, and allowing a little weight to sink into the hips. Just a little bit. We don't want to completely fall into the hips, but allowing that opening to happen. Just using a little weight from the body. Let's move the blocks off to the side. Come on onto the fingertips. Come up onto the back toes. And then use a bend in that back knee for momentum to bring that foot forward. And that might take 1 or 2 steps also, just to get you into this forward fold. However you need to get there, come into that forward fold. And I'm already swaying a little side to side out of habit. So if that feels good to you, go ahead and do that. And take a moment here to just have a little bounce, moving the head just slightly closer to the floor, just a little bounce, keeping the knees bent here in this fold. Nice little bounce. And then we'll come to stillness. Go ahead and grab your block. We're going to take a twist here. You don't have to use a block, but some people find that it helps to bring the earth up just a bit. Go ahead and bend the right knee. We'll place that block right below the face, or if you're just using the fingertips, the hand comes right down below the face, directly in front of the face on the floor. Bending the right knee, straightening the left leg. We're going to take that same twist movement as before, using the left hand, draw it across the right arm across the chest and lifting up, fingertips toward the ceiling or off to the side if the shoulders are a bit tight. And notice your neck. We want the crown of the head to be an extension of the spine. It has a tendency, the neck, to let the head fall toward the floor. So we want to extend out through the crown of the head toward the wall in front of us. And lift, imagine just lifting that left hip just a tiny little bit, and you'll feel a little change in the sensation there. Let's bring that left hand down to replace the right. Do this on the other side. So bending the left knee. Left hand is on the block or fingertips on the floor right below the face. Straightening the right knee, drawing the right hand across the arm across the chest, and then lengthening out through the fingertips either to the side or up toward the ceiling. And again, think of lifting up through that right hip just a bit and lengthening out the crown of the head. So we've got a nice extension of the spine through the crown of the head. And holding there, remembering to breathe here, and then bringing that right hand down. Twists are so good for the digestive system, so that's great to kickstart that system at the beginning of the day. Go ahead and press into the feet, roll up into your mountain pose. Lengthen up tall, take that little back bend at the top, and then bring the hands around to prayer position. I'm going to do these same movements now on the other side of the body. So hands go down to then come up. We'll take that little back bend once we reach our tall mountain. And we'll come into our forward fold. This time we'll take the right toes back, landing on the right toes, bringing that right knee down. Bring the blocks in if you like to come into that low lunge. We want this front knee to be right over the front ankle. If we push it further forward, it's not so great on the knee or the hip, so keep that in alignment. And pressing into that ball of the left foot can also help. We're going to come right into our runner's stretch this time. We'll do a little quicker pace since we've been through this once before. Hold this runner's stretch here for just a moment, the very first one. Take note of the right hip. Again, we want it to be in the same plane with the right knee. It has that tendency to pop out to the sides. We want to bring it back in alignment. Bring the toes to point toward the nose. Give a little bend in that left leg. You'll feel a pretty intense lengthening in the back of the left leg. Let's go ahead and roll forward onto the left foot, coming back to that low lunge. And then we'll roll up onto that front heel again. Toes toward nose, right knee in alignment. Roll back forward into your low lunge. Roll back onto the heel into our runner's stretch. Forward into our low lunge. Back into our runner's stretch. And forward into our low lunge. Let's bring those blocks off to the side. We're going to bring both hands inside the left foot, maybe walking that left foot out just a bit. Coming into our lizard pose. And again, my hands are in placement. Their fingers are nice and wide, and my thumbs are actually touching one another. We do want to keep the wrists right beneath the elbows, elbows right beneath the shoulders, so that might mean that the hands need to be a little wider. As a matter of fact, as I look, mine do. Having those thumbs right together is not the best alignment. It's a good reminder to pay close attention to our alignment. If you like to intensify, lift up onto the toes and back. And you can feel a little more opening in the front of that right hip flexor, a little more opening in this upper back of the thigh and the left leg. You may even tilt just a tiny bit of weight into the left outer edge of the foot. And just hold here for a moment, remembering to breathe. Give a little smile if things get intense. Bring that knee down if you haven't already. And then we're going to come back to our low lunge. And from this place, go ahead and plant the palms. We're going to come back into that plank again. So lift up onto the back toes. Bring the front foot back to meet the back foot. Go ahead and bring the knees down whenever you're ready into that half plank. And then keep the elbows super close to the body as you lower all the way down to the belly. This time we'll take just a tiny bit higher Cobra. So we're going to press into the base of the palms just a little bit. But before we start, go ahead and zip up through the inner legs from the toes all the way up the insides of the legs into the pelvic floor, the glutes, the backs of the thighs, using the back muscles. And then we press into the base of the palms and lift up slightly, keeping the shoulders away from the ears, only rising up till the belly button is an inch or two off the mat, and then we lower back down. And let's take a moment to take a little rest. Bring the hands together to rest right below the forehead and let the forehead rest down. And allow the heels to open wider. The big toes are closer to each other. And just breathe here and feel the abdomen and the chest expand against your mat as you inhale fully. And then feel that contraction and feel the body sinking into the mat as you complete your exhale. From here, let's lift the head slightly, bringing the hands right beneath the shoulders. Go ahead and come up either into a tabletop or a plank, and then come back up to your down dog, pedaling the feet a bit, paying attention again to your alignment here, gripping into the fingertips, shoulders away from the ears, flat back, crown extending toward the front edge of the mat as the tailbone lifts toward that crease between wall and ceiling. Pedal the feet if that feels good. Bring the feet to stillness when you feel ready, and really sink the heels toward your mat as you press into the base of the palms, feeling the weight of the body evenly distributed between the palms and the balls of the feet. And then from here, we're going to lift that right foot just a few inches off the mat. Bring the weight forward into the hands as we pull the knee toward the chest, and then work that foot up toward the front between the hands, whether it takes 1 or 2 steps or it takes bringing it forward with the hand. However you need to get it there, go ahead and bring it up so we can come into that low lunge once more. And just allow that opening to happen in the hips. Lengthen through the crown. If you want to have your blocks here beneath the hands, go ahead and place those where you need them. Lengthening up through the crown, bringing the tailbone down and back. And then we'll set the blocks off to the side. Come up onto the back toes. Give a little bend in the back knee and bring that foot forward. And here we are in our forward fold again. A little sway. Let's take a halfway lift here. When you feel like you've completed enough swaying, go ahead and lift halfway. You can bring the hands either to the shins, just above the knees, or all the way up as we did before. Wherever you are, we want to keep a flat back. And then come back to your forward fold. Rising up to a tall mountain. Lengthening up tall. Take that little back bend once more. And then bring the hands to prayer position at the heart. Close the eyes just a moment. And take notice of your heartbeat. Take notice of your breathing pattern, the depth and pacing of each breath. Notice any other bodily sensations. Notice if the weight is evenly distributed between your feet. If not, go ahead and take a little movement to equalize the distribution of the body weight between the 2 feet. Lengthen through the crown. Notice if the tailbone is pointing toward the mat and the crown is lifted toward the ceiling. And just notice any other sensations in the body. From here, we're going to come to the long edge of our mat. Open the feet wide. Toes are pointing wider. Heels are closer together. We're going to come down into a squat. And as you begin to come down, we want to keep the back straight. And you'll reach a point where you will have to bend forward just a little. And you might need to stop higher, because if you start to really curve, that's going against what we're aiming for. As you come closer, sometimes you might need a block to get down there. If you're able to come all the way down to this squat position, you might want to rock from the ball of one foot to the heel of the other, and then do that on the opposite side, helping to open up the hips here a little bit. You can also bring fingertips to the floor. And if you're higher, if you're down here lower, go ahead and bring the hands together in this low squat. You can always bring a block beneath the hips and go ahead and sit the sits bones down on it. If you're up higher because the hips are still tight, then just bring the hands to the chest and hold there. And wherever you are, allow some opening in the hips and breathe. Just breathe, breathe. The hips get pretty tight when we sit a lot and in a lot of daily life activities. We're doing a lot of sitting, so this can feel pretty intense. So come out whenever you feel is necessary. And then use the hands or blocks beneath the hands to help you come all the way down to your mat. We're going to lengthen the legs out toward the short edge. Coming to turn around a bit. Lengthen the arms up over the shoulders and take a forward fold here. Keeping a flat back, which means that you know where your stopping place is. When the back starts to curve, we want to be able to straighten it back up and lengthen from hinging at the hips so we're not curving in the back. Bring those nose to point toward the toes. Feel that lengthening in the back of the body. And then from here, go ahead and bring the hands by the hips. Press into your mat so you can lift the hips up, bringing them forward toward the feet. And we're going to roll back. Bringing the knees toward the chest as we come to lie on our back. Go ahead and take a little rock from side to side. Feel that massage in the low back and the upper hips. From here, we're going to keep the hands right below the kneecaps on the shins and use the abdominal muscles and the muscles of the chest. If you're building strength there, go ahead and bring the fingertips behind the head so that we don't create tension in the neck. We're going to lift the nose toward the ceiling and then point the nose toward the knees. And just hold here for a minute. You might feel a little shake. Keep the elbows nice and wide. And then we'll lower the head back down. Bring the soles of the feet to your mat so that the knees are pointing toward the ceiling. And just hold here for just a moment, feeling some weight in the sacrum. A lot of muscles come together there, so this can create a little bit of a reset there, a little release. Let's go ahead and engage the feet, the inner feet. Pull the toes towards the arches of the feet as if you're trying to pull something closer to you with the toes. So that engages the arches of the feet. And then go ahead and engage up the inner legs all the way up into the pelvic floor and the abdomen and the glutes. And then with the arms on either side of the body, we're going to press into the heels and lift the hips up, coming into a bridge pose here. So we want to allow a little release in the glutes because they can become over tight here. So go ahead and allow some release there. And just hold the hips in position. If it feels good to you, you can bring a block right beneath the sacrum and let the hips just sink right down into that block. That can feel mighty nice. Or you can hold the bridge. Either way is fine. One is a little more restorative. One is a little more energizing. And if you're in the supported bridge, go ahead and press into the feet so you can lift the hips just enough to remove that block. And then we're going to roll down one vertebra at a time. And once the hips touch the floor, we're going to bring the knees wide and the soles of the feet to touch one another. So the knees are open wide. You might bring the hands to rest right on the belly, or they can rest on either side with the palms facing the ceiling. Whatever feels best to you here. You might even walk the shoulder blades a little closer together beneath the body to create a little more opening in the front of the chest. And then let's lengthen the legs out, both in front first. And then we're going to bring the right knee toward the chest. Give it a little hug, maybe rocking the knee side to side to sort of create a little motion in the hip there. And they're going to bring that right knee across the front of the body and bring it toward the floor on the left-hand side. So that means we're going to rock up onto the outside of the left hip. And then we can extend the right arm out from the right shoulder. And if anything starts to feel pinchy in the low back, this right foot can be pressed, the sole of the foot can be pressed down toward the lower edge of your mat. And that will create a little more opening in the back here. And we want to just allow this left hand to relax, and the gravity of that hand on the right thigh pulls the right knee just slightly closer to the floor. We're not pressing hard, we're just letting gravity pull the right knee toward the floor. Go ahead and close the eyes here so you can really feel into this. Completely relax that left leg. We do want to try to keep this right shoulder on the floor. If that means you come out of the twist just a little bit, that's fine. Really breathing deeply here into this twist. And on the next inhale, let's roll back over onto our backs. We're going to extend the right leg out and bring that left knee toward the chest. And take notice of your spine. Is it in a straight line from the tailbone to the crown of the head? If not, make any adjustments that you need. Once you have that left knee toward the chest, go ahead and move the knee a little side to side, feeling a little compression in the hip. And then we'll take that right hand on the outside of the right thigh, and we'll just cross that left knee. I may have said right hand is on the outside of the left thigh. The left knee is crossing over the body, coming toward the floor on the right hand side. I get my lefts and rights backwards sometimes, so excuse me for that. Extend that left arm out from the left shoulder. Relax the right leg completely. If you feel any tightness or pinching in the low back, press the sole of that left foot toward the bottom edge of your mat. And breathe into this twist. Working to keep the left shoulder and shoulder blade close to the mat. You can glance over toward that extended left arm if you like, to bring the twist up into the neck. I didn't do that on the other side, I don't think, but that is also an option. If it doesn't feel good on the neck, then you would just keep the face toward the ceiling. And just relax into this twist, remembering to breathe here. Let's come over onto our backs again. Then we're going to come into our full Savasana here with the legs extended out in front. The arms are resting on either side of the body. Palms are facing the ceiling. If you have a blanket, you want to roll it up and put it beneath the knees for a little extra support. I'm going to do that since I have mine handy. That can be nice to support the low back, but not necessary, just helpful. And now is the time when you get to simply let go and allow the body, the mind, the spirit to soak up all the benefits of your practice. Your only job here is to release any tension in the muscles and be and breathe. I'll let you know when it's time to come back to full awareness. Just be and breathe, letting any thoughts that come to mind pass through without attachment or judgment. Let them go. Just be and breathe. Go ahead and bring a little movement to your fingertips and your toes. Make some circles with the wrists and the ankles. Maybe rock the hips a little from side to side. And let's take a full body stretch here. Lifting, lengthening hands out above the head, pressing through the base of the palms, pressing out through the heels of the feet. And then we'll bring the arms down on either side and roll over onto one side of the body, using your arm to pillow your head. Bending the knees into a loose fetal position, keeping the eyes closed. And taking a full breath cycle here. And we'll use the hands to press us back up to seated. Again, working to keep the eyes closed as long as we can. Keeping that inward focus. Coming back into your easy seat that we started practice in, your Sukhasana. And sitting tall in the spine, allowing the hands to rest wherever they're most comfortable. Just notice how it feels to sit in this position now versus when you first came to practice. Notice the length and strength of your spine. Notice any sensations in the body. Notice the temperature of the air around you. Notice if there's been any shift in your state of mind or the state of your emotions. And let's bring the hands to prayer position at the heart. Take a big full belly inhale. We'll chant Om on the exhale. Let's bring the hands so that the thumbs rest on the forehead. May we have peace in our thoughts. Bring the thumbs down to the lips. May we have peace in our words. And finally, resting back at the heart space, may we have peace in our hearts. The light in me recognizes and honors the light in you. And I bow as I say, Namaste. Thank you so much for being here to practice with me today. I really hope that this practice has brought some peace and tranquility into your day, and that you can now carry that peace and tranquility with you throughout your day, carrying it into every space that you enter. I look forward to practicing with you again here soon. If you want to be notified when I post new practices, please hit the subscribe button and the little bell so you receive notifications anytime a new practice is available. And if you have questions or comments on the practice or about yoga in general, please put those in the comments below. I'd be happy to hear from you and get back with you. Namaste.